Hello everybody, welcome to the first episode of the PES ePodcast. I'm your host, Cameron, or most of you will know me on Twitter as PES Rumours, which is now a redundant name, so thanks Konami for that. I should probably change that soon. Anyway, today we're joined by the one and only Camaldinho. So how are you doing today, Cam?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm great. Good. And also joining us from across the pond is Terry F Gaming. Thanks for tuning in, Terry. How are you doing this evening?
Definitely, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to delve into whatever happened in the past week.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. All the podcasts this week have really inspired me to get on here and just start my own because they've been really enjoyable, I thought. And it's although for the wrong reasons, it's been nice to see the community talking again and communicating with each other.
It's nice to see everyone diving in with their opinions, no matter what offline or online community you're from. It has been positive to see everyone getting together.
Yeah, and actually, it's actually been quite unified, the opinions. So everyone's agreeing on one thing for once, which is nice to see.
It is indeed.
Yeah, so this is going to be a podcast all about eFootball, our thoughts on the reveal and the franchise as a whole going forward. But before we get into the details, I just wanted to ask how we all first introduced to PES. So I'll start off with Cam. What was the first game in the franchise you remember playing? And what attracted you to the series?
So my first ever game was PES 2, and how I got into that was back when I was young, when I used to buy the old PlayStation 2 magazines. They used to come with a DVD disc that you used to put in your PS2. And that was my source of getting the latest trailers or testing out the latest demos for games. So when you're a kid, anything that you love can catch your eye. And when I was young, it was Manchester United and David Beckham. They were just absolutely massive for me when I was young. And then on this disc, there was a trailer for a game called Pro Evolution Soccer 2. Which I didn't know anything about at the time. And to be honest, I weren't really into my football games when I was younger, despite me being a massive football fan when I was young. I was playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City and Tekken 4. And it was mixed with Queen and David Beckham, the trailer. And it immediately caught my eye because me being a massive Beckham fan when I was young, it was the first time I saw in a video game one person being replicated so well. They had his free kick motion, they had his 2002 mohawk that he had at the World Cup. And when you put such a popular player like that in the spotlight, and again, me being young and impressionable, it just connected with the We Will Rock You trailer as well. It was just something that I wanted to try. Then I think a couple of issues down the line, the demo was on one of the discs. I tried out the game for the first time. I think you could only select England versus France, I believe. But I tried the gameplay and the rest is history. Absolutely loved it. So yes, that's how I got into PES. I mean, anything that was, when you were young, when you used to see the screenshots, your eyes would light up, and that's the feeling I got from seeing PES 2 for the first time.
Yeah, and what about yourself, Terry? How was you introduced to PES?
Well, funny enough, Cam, this is just going to turn into the David Beckham podcast because so I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and Dwight York is playing for Manchester United. His debut season, I think he scored 29 goals. That was the treble year, I believe. So the entire country is following Manchester United. I was always a Real Madrid fan, but just the fact that we had a player playing for Manchester United, I remember just noticing, hey, this one guy keeps passing him the football. And it's David Beckham. So fall in love with Beckham. As we know, Beckham's appeal, everything about him. Actually was a big FIFA fan because I played World Cup 98 by my cousin. And the Trinidad and Tobago Stadium, the Hazley Crawford Stadium, was in the game, which is really insane when you think of it.
Wow,
game,
FIFA, it actually is,
FIFA Road to World Cup 98 is such an incredible game, especially for the time, but you could take your team from qualifying all around the world all the way to the final. It was just an incredible experience. It was around PES 4, I would say. And Cam, it's really funny you brought that up because I remember I went by my cousin's house. I was playing FIFA at that time. I played FIFA from FIFA 98 all the way through 2005. I bought FIFA every year and played it, every year. But my cousin around PES 4, he got the game and he invited me over one day. And I'll never forget, he was on the wing with England and he hit a cross with Beckham and he did the exact movement, which is why I'm cracking up, Cam. His left hand a little bit lower, his right hand in the air as he swung in across. It curved perfectly. And then from there, I was hooked. So really, I don't think I bought the game for PES 4, but then from PES 5 on, ever since, I've been like a diehard PES fan. I'll never forget when I got PES 5, and I remember just playing with Real Madrid in La Liga. I just couldn't score. I remember I played the first 7 games, and every game, 0-0 or I lose 1-0, and I was having an absolute blast. And looking back, that's what really drew me in. Of course, we know looking back, it wasn't as realistic as our memory or nostalgia might tell us, but it was the closest thing I had seen. And at that point, I've just been hooked ever since. So that's kind of my PES story. And then, every year from then, deep master leagues. I have master leagues I can remember from my childhood, that still give me, goosebumps today. So it's been a long journey with PES for me.
Yeah, for a lot of people, that player ID back in the day was so good for all the big stars, and it drew a lot of people to PES over FIFA at the time because just the way Beckham would take his free kicks and put a cross in, it was so, at the time, it was groundbreaking.
It was like attention to detail, like looking back on it is amazing. I mean, if you go back to the boots he's wearing as well, the boots are, pretty good quality in comparison to if you were looking at, I don't know, your FIFA 05 or 06. Like a lot of the boots were very pixelated. So PES did a lot of things back then that were, if you're a detail enthusiast, like it will whet that appetite for that. So PES did a lot of things, as you know, good back in the day. But
yeah, it really was a special time. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm only 22, so I think my first PES was probably PES 6, I think, at a very young age.
Oh, that's not a bad start, is it?
No.
That's impressive for 22.
Yeah, because both my uncles were really big PES heads, and it's just the only game we sort of had, so I used to play that a lot. And yeah, I guess I did try FIFA every now and then, but I used to always be that kid in school who people would be like, "Oh, do you play FIFA? Like, do you want to get on Ultimate Team?" I'd be like, "No, I play PES," and they'd give me a funny look, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. Like I just always, it's just the feeling of scoring a goal in PES. You don't really get that in FIFA for me.
Mm-hmm.
I never really. It's just that feeling of just it hitting the back of the net in PES. Yeah, it really is a special thing. And yeah, so I started with PES 6. The PES I probably enjoyed the most was 13 because
I love that as well.
The Master League and that was incredible. I remember doing so many seasons of that. Really was a great year for Master League. Probably one of the last really good years for Master League, I would say.
Mm-hmm. It's still talked about today, which shows that year for PES in terms of the Master League is the standard going forward, but we've not really seen anything replicated for that offline mode going forward. So it just remains to be seen what they have planned in this new, eFootball with the offline modes.
Yeah.
I wanted to offer something quick for me, because I was such a FIFA head from, like I said, from 98 to 2005. I'll never forget the feeling that every FIFA, you just needed to figure out what the gimmick was in that FIFA. Mm-hmm. And then once you did, you would just score every game. So it became routine. I remember at points I would even handicap myself playing career mode and not doing a specific thing that would lead to a goal. I go over to PES, and it's just this completely different experience. You could tell, we're going to get into this next, I'm sure, but they really cared. They really cared down to the tiniest detail, not about the bells and whistles and all the extra fluff on top, but about what a football game should feel like and what it should represent. And I think it's not a shock we have, I wouldn't say issues, but, everything that's going on today, if you compare it to the past, you can just see the level of detail and what the focus was on has just changed. And it's unfortunate for some of us, but it's also things change in life all the time, so a lot to go through. But that was really what I think all of us just early on just felt like, whoa, this is something special. You could feel it. It's still special because we talk about it today as if it came out this year.
Yeah. Well, the whole gaming industry has sort of moved a lot since then into online and stuff. And yeah, I guess just offline. I mean, I know we're all big offline players primarily. So I think I don't know if we have to just get with the times, or because online is what everyone cares about now, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's the biggest out of the two player bases in terms of online and offline, but it's just one of those that I prefer just to relax and have a good time offline. But again, like you've said, Konami are changing with the times. They've gone down this direction of the free-to-play route, and whatever microtransactions they're going to add into there. Obviously, whether we think it's going to be good or not, gameplay-wise, I do think the business model itself will be very successful for them, because when you mix free-to-play and the world's most popular sport into one, free-to-play on all major platforms, including your mobile devices, there's no harm in just downloading the game and trying it out.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, it is the perfect move. It's very ambitious as well to have every platform playing together. We haven't really seen that before, so especially in football games. So from a business perspective, yeah, it is quite ambitious, and it will be a huge success, even if the gameplay isn't up to scratch or anything. It will be a huge success simply just because of the mobile market and how big that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just have to see, I think.
I mean, touching up on that as well, you've got to think, putting mobile as a platform that can go against all the other platforms like your next-gen consoles and the last-gen consoles. There's not a lot of people who can afford those consoles, even the last-gen consoles. Some families can't afford them, but depending on what type of phone you've got, you'll be able to play against other people. So I guess that's what they're looking at in terms of just trying to get everyone involved in this new route that they're taking.
Yeah, especially in certain regions, like I think in Brazil and other regions, it's
yeah, exactly. Like like Indonesia, it's massive over there, but that'd be it's good for them because, again, like I said, some people don't have the luxury of buying an annual title, so it'll be good for some people, but not for other people.
Even in Japan as well. I think Japan, it's a very mobile-centric market, isn't it? It's not a lot of... I don't think consoles do very well over there anymore, do they? So
I think in the West, we do miss this a lot, because we're not in these markets and it's a different type of gaming experience for us. But, last year, I think, was the first year I really noticed just how big PES Mobile was. I started my YouTube channel last year. And I think early on, just looking around, I would see these PES Mobile, channels. And I never really paid attention to it at all, right? I'm buying, the new game every year. I'm seeing these views on the channels, and they're massive. And, it's all like Indonesia especially. You're right about that. I saw so many of these YouTubers and their views are through the roof. And the sad thing is, it just feels like, Konami's a company. They're looking at what makes sense, and they made a pivot that likely, like you all said, it's going to be successful, makes sense based on how their player base has changed. And I think in a way, it just kind of, instead of competing with FIFA, it's like they just said, you know what, FIFA, you do your own thing. We're just going to go into this market. We don't even have to bother with this one-to-one losing battle that we've been fighting for years. And now we can just kind of work in this sphere and dominate this. And, PES does have this legacy of us more serious offline players. And I don't want to believe we're a dying breed or that they really don't care about us at all. But, if you just kind of take a bird's eye view of everything that's happened since, 2013, and you just look at the promises made and the promises not kept and the products you've been delivered, et cetera, the writing's kind of been on the wall for a while. Even last year, them cutting the price in half, obviously they pushed it as a season update and everything. But that was already a step towards making it free to play. And then this year, we're essentially getting a continuous season update forever and free forever. So it's I think while we're in it, it's sometimes harder to see that this was trending this way for so long. But then again, I think it also falls on Konami because that trailer that they released last year, right, and the conversations around it is nothing compared to what we've gotten this year. And it does make me think, I don't really think Konami's this incredibly forward-thinking company, right? I think what happens is they tend to pivot and kind of give us whatever they think they can placate us with when they have to. And I just don't know if this was the plan last year. I think some elements of it were possibly the plan, but you look at the slowdown of the delivery of next-gen consoles. Last year no one could get one, and I know it's still really hard. Even if you have the means to afford it, it's still really hard to source a PS5 specifically. So I wonder, that definitely plays into it. But the writing's been on the wall, unfortunately.
Yeah, and even with, you look at the PES Lite games that have come out the last 2-3 years, the writing really has been on the wall, because they've been hugely successful and probably brought in quite a large. I mean, because those games came out 2 or 3 months after the full release. So really, if you're just a My Club player, you could just wait 2-3 months until after the games come out and just play the Lite version, and you can get a full My Club experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the writing kind of has been on the wall for a while, and even with the name change last year to eFootball PES was a little indication as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
at times,
yeah, it's. I do get the feeling we are a dying breed as offline players. I think I would love them to change my mind, but we just feel like a small subsection of the fan base now who they're not really paying that much attention to. And I hope this DLC for the Master League does blow us all away, but I don't know. I just think,
respectfully, I don't think it will. I don't. Like Terry already said, we've been promised so much since the last Best Master League that we've not really had a good offline mode since. Become a Legend, that's highly popular. When's the last time you've seen that being updated? To me, that's a filler mode, and what I mean by that is that it's just there to whet your offline appetite experience, but it's just not going to get updated every year. So if you're bored of Master League but want to go down that single player route, you can try it, but there's nothing really else to go on other than just constantly play games. I know you can try and incorporate your own content on it by making scenes on like GTA and try and make your own career more exclusive content wise, but even that can only go so far, just because playing games repetitively on Become a Legend can be a little bit stale.
Yeah, I don't even know when was the last time they added something to Become a Legend?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't.
They've just been taking away. I thanks to Cam, who's always hooking everyone up with retro PES. I went back to PES 2013. Funny enough, I still have the disc, and was that be PS3? Yeah, I still have my old PS3 and the disc, but I recently got a PC, a couple months ago to get into the modding on PC and everything, and I played PES 2013. Become a Legend, and if you watch the video I did on my channel, I'm in shock every step I go forward in Become a Legend or Master League, because I genuinely forgot how many different elements they did include back then. Become a Legend, I don't think there's been a thing since 2013. I can't remember if 2013 allowed you to request your position, which is something I know that's in the more recent games, where you can say, you don't want to play left wing, you want to play up top. But other than that, you look at what the mode used to be. You used to get scouted in the beginning. You'd play a training match, right? And then teams would offer you a contract. If you look at PES 2009, just the art behind it and how they even set up Become a Legend. I don't know if that was the year, Cam, you may know if they launched Become a Legend. Was it 2009?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah. It was just, there was so much excitement for it at that point, and you felt like, wow, where is this going to be? And it's really crazy, we're 12, 13 years later, and it couldn't be worse. It couldn't be more bland. And, I can offer this perspective, being American and living in America. I played, NBA games and Madden and American football growing up. And apart from 2K, which as much as people do kind of get on NBA 2K with their microtransactions, they still put in so much effort into the offline game. They still care to some degree, and they still give you an experience that, as much as the 2K players really at this point feel like it's stale, if any football game did what that game is doing offline for basketball, I think it would be a complete revolution in the series for everyone. People would, they're my player. They're kind of what would be their become a legend is eons ahead of what anything we've seen really from honestly either PES or FIFA.
It's not even close. It's not even close. I've not tried it myself, but I've seen their offline modes, and if any football game was even 20% of what that mode is, it would be revolutionary in our eyes. It is incredible.
Yeah, one thing that I've been stuck on, and not to take us too off topic, but playing 2K. You scan your face into the game. It looks exactly like you. It looks like a PC modder from PES made it. Sometimes you'll get some mistakes, but usually if you take enough pictures, you'll get, a good face scan. You play in the NBA or whatever, but then you can go online and they make their money from the park, right? Which is essentially you taking your character online, right? And you're playing against other characters. I know FIFA kind of has Volta, and I know on PES I'm pretty sure you can take your Become a Legend character online and play co-op, I believe. But I'm surprised that if you think in terms of making money and microtransactions, that either FIFA or PES hasn't really committed to making that mode, so engaging. Because the funny thing is, for 2K, that's their money. You know what I mean? Their money isn't even necessarily based on team versus team. It's everyone using the character they've spent time with, built up, and then playing against other characters online. That's brought them by far the most money. And I've always felt if you're, I played that online, right? I don't enjoy playing PES online. I enjoy playing 2K online, every now and then. And I've always felt, either one of these football franchises really should have just said, we're going to make a kind of my player become a legend mode that is so enthralling, even an offline player is excited to take their guy online and play against other players. But I feel like no company, FIFA did some of the journey stuff, but obviously, that was a different character. But I've always felt if you're going to go the microtransaction route, that actually could be the most lucrative, or at least, maybe the most exciting for the fan base.
Yeah, the journey was interesting. I did any of you two try it?
Yeah. It was cool how they've done it. Like I think the first year you started as like the young Alex Hunter, so like you played as like a kid in like a football match. And I think the second year of the journey, or it was the third, or one of the two, you actually play as Alex Hunter's granddad. I think it was Jim Hunter, and you get to go back in like the 1980s. Or maybe even earlier than that, actually. Probably the 60s. And you get to play like an old-fashioned game. So, again, the single-player Become a Legend style can be successful if there's a lot of immersion in it. FIFA tried their hand in it, and it weren't that bad. But I didn't play it fully to complete the story.
I think they've sort of retired it now, haven't they? Because
I think like Volta's, like the new... like secondary mode that they had the journey for 3 years, and now it's Volta, which I believe will be for the third year as well, maybe. But I've tried Volta. I had like FIFA Street expectations, but it's not. It plays very different to what FIFA Street was. It's just FIFA gameplay with just skills, but none of that like arcadey feel. Like the old FIFA Streets was, but it's not too bad. But I don't really play it too much.
Yeah, I've not tried Volta actually. I've played a FIFA and since 16, I think, or 17.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wish one of the games would have just put a lot of love into. I think if one of the games put a lot of love into it, it would be a really big deal. I think a lot of people would get behind it. But I guess PES have just never given it much attention, and FIFA tried the journey, and it was interesting, but I think people lost interest in it after a few seasons of that.
Yeah, I can agree on that.
Yeah, it's just a shame, really. But
I do wonder if I'm sorry there, but if FIFA did make the journey initially, your own character, obviously with those cutscenes, it would not have been able to be exactly the same. But we've seen games from a long time ago where you could make your own character and have some kind of decision-making process. So I guess for FIFA, they wanted to invest in getting these actors and putting together this kind of like linear storyline. But I think that was actually a good opportunity, and had FIFA gone with some version of you being able to take your own character and something similar to the journey, 2017 we said, right? Then I
Yeah.
think it could have taken off. Just on the topic of microtransactions, your conversation has me thinking, should PES have really leaned into Master League Online when they kind of tried it around the 2010s, 2011? I do wonder if you look at the PES user base, which is, usually maybe a little bit older, but also more into offline. Not the new one that we're talking about, the kind of legacy fans to use some Super League terminology. But I do wonder, the people like me who don't necessarily like playing online but love Master League, they really leaned into, we're going to give the most interesting online kind of career mode experience. Because that's where career modes or master leagues go stale, right? Eventually you feel like, well, I know more about the AI than about the players that I'm buying and what I'm building with my team. So I'm always going to build a strong team, is actually competing against other people trying to buy the same players, like a real transfer market. I do feel like if you look at what PES is and what has driven PES, Master League is definitively the mode that defined PES up until now. Like,
Yes,
there's no
definitely.
doubt about that. Master League is PES. It even has a weird name that doesn't make sense, right? But when you look at that, it really makes sense. If you lean into what your strengths are, right? It would have made sense for PES to go the microtransaction route, but do it in the mode that was the mode that drove that franchise. And I do think, look back to around 2013, 2014, they botched every transition, botched every single next gen transition. I can't believe they've done it again, because they kind of did in a way if you look at the feedback for this one.
Yeah.
But PS2 to PS3, disaster. You go from the highest reviewed, generally accepted, as the best football game on the market. PES was the movie that would win an Oscar, whereas FIFA would win like the MTV Movie Award, if you look at it that way. Back then, they botched that. Then they botched 2013 to 14, and then yet again. But I do wonder if Master League Online was actually like that golden egg, so to speak, that PES probably should have really focused on, because it is what their player base was at the time and still is to this day in many ways.
Well, you've now got rumors of FIFA doing online career mode. I just think it's a massive missed opportunity for one of these games need to do it, because, like you said, like, could you imagine an online career mode where you do transfer with other players? It's a live, it's a live market, and the transfer fees won't be ridiculously low or high, or it'll just. I think it would be it's a missed opportunity, I think.
It is. I mean, you've got to think as well. We as like offline players, the only online alternative we've got is the Ultimate Team version of like what PES are now currently doing with like my club. And like also Terry said, I don't really touch online on PES. I play a lot of online games in like other departments, like Warzone, or I do play FIFA online now and again, pro clubs.
Yeah.
But with like your online master leagues, or like some kind of online career building mode where you could trade players with other users or anything like that, it would be something that I would be interested in. I don't know if I'd continue like playing it, because I do feel PES Online is an exploitable game, and what I mean by that is there's avenues that you can go down to win a game without you actually being good at it. So
Yeah.
I would like to see it come into fruition one way or another. But I must admit, when Master League Online was out back in like the PES 2011 or 12 days, I actually didn't play a minute of it, because I wasn't interested in it. I was playing like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3 or whatever it was, but I don't actually know how it worked back in the day. So I guess after this podcast, I'm going to actually have to do a bit of research and see how it actually worked.
I must confess, I'm exactly the same. I've not played 1 minute of Master League Online. It just never really interested me. I was also playing Modern Warfare 2 at the time, a lot. So, yeah,
make it a hat trick. Me as well. Never played it. So, really? So we are actually the problem.
Yes, we are.
Actually think as well, honestly, it probably was too early, we just think of the capability of the PS3 at the time and kind of where gaming was. Because I just imagine, me in 2017, for example, now getting presented with Master League Online, right? And I'm just imagining, especially now being even more involved in the PES community, playing some kind of Master League with Spoonie, with Cam, with the True Brits, and we're all in the Master League. And maybe the microtransactions, for example, aren't necessarily for players, but maybe I want to have more training on my youth team player, right? So I have to spend 199 US, for example, to get a training boost that could last for the season. Now, I'm not a microtransaction guy at all. I do not spend any money online, even in any games that I play. But for something like PES and something like Master League, where it could have been that fun, that immersive, even me, I think I would have actually been enticed by things like that if they could have really put it together. But I do wonder, listening to kind of all of us who rejected it at the time, if it may have been just too early in the kind of cycle of modern gaming and what online gaming ended up being.
Yeah, I can't believe we just talked about Master League Online for 10 minutes and none of us have played it. Maybe it was ahead of its time. And, I mean, the online infrastructure is a lot better now. Yeah, maybe it just was too ahead of its time. Right, anyway, shall we move on to that trailer then?
That trailer.
Oh boy.
That trailer. Do we want to talk about the trailer? I mean, I'm having a lot of fun reminiscing about old PES.
Reminiscing about Master League Online, the game mode none of us have ever played.
Yeah.
It's a Mandela effect.
It is.
It's been a full week since the reveal trailer, I think, hasn't it? I think it's been a full week now. Yeah, it has been. Yeah, it's been a full week. How are we feeling about it now? We've had time to digest all the new information. I'll start with you, Cam.
Well, I don't know where we start. When it was announced or released, I was in work, so at the time when everyone was reacting to it and saying like it's not good, I was just doing my job. So then when I got home and then realized that what everyone's saying doesn't look good, I had to obviously see it for myself. And I was just disappointed. It was very, very disappointing. I think because from the teaser trailer last year to the trailer of eFootball, in between that time, we had no news on the game about anything. Any kind of event coming up, like E3, Konami backed out of it. So, again, our news for the next game was halted. The eFootball Open, they announced that they were announcing that there's something coming on the 19th or 21st or whatever it was, but we already knew that from the advertising boards in that beta that came out. And like I said, the only thing we had in between that time period of the first teaser trailer and the eFootball trailer was articles of the photorealism and how the crowd is looking better than ever, and all the other stuff that they were hyping up. And last year's teaser was the start of my expectations. And then when the eFootball trailer dropped, it was like, this is very different to what was communicated. So when I saw it for the first time, it didn't look premium whatsoever. I am not a graphic designer. I am not an expert on video editing, but I know what they put out didn't look premium to a point where even if it is free to play, what I was watching didn't really hook me in. Some parts looked more high quality than the other. There's that current rumor going around that the stadiums in that trailer or teaser, whatever it is, are the only parts that are next gen. The rest are like current versions of whatever version it is.
Yeah, that's from the Reddit leak, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't understand why the first trailer you'd release something that's so low in quality, and then once the trailer was done and dusted, we then got communication saying that our next piece of news, having waited 1 year for this trailer, is a month later. So now we've got to wait another month for news. And what the first trailer should have done is give us good impressions, because that's what you do when you first see a person, or when you, I don't know, go on a date for the first time. You want to be impressed by what you see is in front of you, and I just wasn't whatsoever. And it's just one of these things now where we have got to wait till the end of August to see what they're going to do in terms of the next bit of news that they're bringing out. Like I said, the first trailer should have been the introduction for hype, and the second piece of news should be something for us to build onto the hype that we already had, but I don't think it's going to be anything like that at all. Again, the one part that really confused me was the PK and Iniesta.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to them, they're just doing their job. They're, incredible players, and I just didn't feel or didn't sense them having a purpose in that trailer for whatever reason they were in there for, other than to say, oh, look, we've got Iniesta as an advisor and we've got PK as a defensive advisor, or whatever it is.
What's that Iniesta clip from last year?
Heard that.
Someone else said that, and again, I just don't understand, why they were in there. And then the roadmap, when that was first announced, the only thing that speaks out to me is that the game is just not ready. And the only reason I say that is because there is distributions of how it's been released. So you get the 9 teams on release that you can try out, and then you get the team building mode, which will be my club, and then eventually you'll get the esports tournaments, which what they're doing for the first time, according to one of their pieces of information on their websites. There's now amateur esports tournaments, so maybe I'm going to get myself into that and hopefully win something. But no, in a nutshell, I was surprised but disappointed.
It always comes down to the communication, doesn't it, Konami?
Yeah, it was for me. Like, it was, like I said, weird how we had no communication of anything within a year. Not even a little screenshot of hype or anything to really get us excited for the next one. And like I said, the only thing we had is the community finding articles that are talking about photorealism and what to expect from the next game, and then everything that has been building up with articles and last year's trailer, what we got in this year's eFootball reveal was just nothing to what we were expecting or promised.
Don't get me started on those photorealism articles, because that is just, I mean, to release an article like that a few months before the trailer and you put out graphics like that in the trailer, I just don't see the correlation. Like, where in that trailer did we see anything resembling photorealism?
Well, here is, I said this on Fishy's stream. They said in their teaser trailer description last year that the title is being developed with an updated engine that will enable us to dazzle you with staggering improvements to all areas of the game. Expect more realistic player models and animations, and enhanced physics with photorealistic visuals. What in that trailer showed any of that? Not one bit, for me anyway.
Maybe the stadiums a little bit, but not really. They probably look good for current gen, or sorry, previous gen now, those stadiums. But is it anything mind-blowing for next gen? I wouldn't say so.
I think it's the whole thing as well. Like, if you have got a next-gen console, and they even said on Twitter last year that the game is being built from the ground up for next-gen consoles, but mobile are also getting a piece of that pie as well. But even though they've said, I think it's on IGN, that the next-gen version of eFootball is the main version of it going forward, but depending on what platform you're on, it will be downscaled to make sure you can run it properly. I just don't see like the appeal of a next-gen console now, unless you've got other things to play on it. I definitely have got other things to play on it, but if you've bought a console specifically for PES for this next-gen venture, then it's just disappointing.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Terry, after
Oh boy.
seeing the trailer?
I think it might be. Have to do my research. It has to be the worst trailer they've ever released for PES.
I think it is.
I
think it is.
actually think it's hands down. That trailer was so poor. And listen, no disrespect to anyone who worked on it. I'm just really being frank for what is expected now, especially not even just, PES leading us on. Think about this, guys. This really goes back to PES 2020, because we didn't get 2021. So at that point, and even back then, the rumors, once we had the season update last year, rumors were that, this idea that we're taking a year off and we're really working towards next gen has been in development for multiple years. I was actually so excited when I heard that. I accepted the season update like, hey, that's fine. I can do, as much as it's not the perfect game, I can do PES 2021 for a year. Especially if I know that Konami is not making the mistakes that they've made in the past, transitioning, as I mentioned before, from PS2 to PS3. And then PS3 to PS4. So I'm excited. I would not release that trailer on my channel on YouTube.
Yeah, same.
If I had, I would think, this does not look good. So for me, what is kind of baffling about the entire thing, without even getting too specific, is how did people at Konami headquarters see that, then think, yeah, this is cool based on everything we've said? Not even based on that, just in general. To be honest, they should have just released, if you guys remember the PES 4 opening montage, which is incredible. The pre-rendered face. I mean, it's all the players are vaguely reminiscent of the real life players. There's that Totti looking player who chips the keeper, reminiscent of Totti's goal in real life. If they had just released that exact trailer and just put eFootball on top of it, would have been exciting. What is this? Maybe it's gonna look something like this. So many parts of the trailer are just poor. And the crazy thing is, I can't even really find any redeeming part of the entire trailer. The music is bland. The voiceover is atrocious. It sounds like text to speak programs?
Like Siri.
Yeah.
You're proposing that you're this modern game, right? That's gonna somehow get everyone on every platform playing together. And like you said, Cam, no disrespect, but Andres Iniesta and Gerard Piqué in 2021, how are those? Yeah. And I know you have the Barcelona partnership, of course, but I even mentioned on EvoWeb, so you could have got Pedri. Pedri was a big star at Euro 2020. Right, he basically rose to another level over the last season. Ansu Fati, he's injured now, but still, if you're gonna have to use Barcelona players, at least use players that are younger, fresher, more exciting. Iniesta is halfway to retirement for a couple of years now, and Piqué, even still playing for Barcelona, has been semi-retired the way he's been playing the past couple of seasons. And then Gerard Piqué looks like he's in a hostage situation with someone off camera pointing a gun to him to give the most bland comments on defending. You mentioned, Cam, that it didn't feel like they were needed. There's nothing they said there that was remotely, to me. Obviously, there's that, they're trying to make that connection of one-on-one play and different things, but it's all fluff. There's nothing there that meant anything. Mm-hmm. And what annoys all of us about Konami is they have one of the best user bases that you could find. You will hardly find a game that has this many people this committed to it in their free time, spending hours upon hours making the game better, editing videos, doing all these things. And when I saw that Whedon's had left, I already got nervous. I think this was a couple of weeks before the trailer release. If anyone listening doesn't know, Whedon's incredible guy. He's been doing YouTube videos for years on PES and eventually got hired by Konami. And he did the trailer last year. I don't know if you guys remember the PES 2021 season update trailer.
The Messi trailer.
It was incredible.
It's the
PES 2021.
It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. So the 2022 trailer that they released last year is very exciting. It's a short teaser, really. But the actual trailer they released for PES 2021, I couldn't believe it. They showed PES 5. They showed Messi back in PES 5. It was well edited. They had that great scene in the room where all the legends lined up. That trailer coupled with the 2022 announcement had me so excited because I'm thinking, okay, if this is the trailer they're dropping for PES 2021. They're telling us they're taking the year off to work really hard on this game for next gen. So they're not even rushing out next gen the first year next gen came out. There's no way the PES 2022 trailer is not going to just blow us away. And it really was, like I said, the worst trailer I've seen for PES. It was bland. Nothing in the graphics looked that good. Obviously, there are some nice shots of the stadiums. But the problem is, by the time they released last year what was possible on Unreal Engine, everyone just went wild. You know, we've all seen that Gareth Bale picture that someone created on Unreal Engine that a lot of reputable websites have now posted, oh, this is PES 2022. And I just think people, when you announce things like this and you build this hype, you're setting yourself up for failure. And like you mentioned, Cameron, you said it's communication. And it's been communication with Konami forever. As much as I know Konami just not good at this stuff, I still feel what they presented last year and what we got now does not line up in any way that this is what they planned. Definitely feels like, I don't know if it's COVID hitting them harder than they thought. I don't know if it's just a restructuring of the company, because ultimately it just feels like Konami looked at everything, decided, let's just cut our payroll, get rid of a bunch of people, keep a much smaller staff, do this cross-platform game, and just that'll be enough. Our profits will go up because we won't have as much high expenses. And even a guy like Whedon's leaving, obviously we don't know if he left on his own. We don't know the details behind it. But that is a quality person from the community who rose to prominence from doing excellent work for the community. You brought him into your staff. You know, everything about that seems like, okay, we're getting towards something. He did excellent work, well-received trailer. And then a year later, we get that monstrosity, which is, I cannot speak enough about how bad that trailer is. I watched it so many times at this point, down to the fact that the thumbnail is horrible.
Right, the thumbnail. The first thing I saw when I got out of bed, I saw the picture of Messi and was it Neymar, I think? And from that moment, I just knew it's over. I just knew before even clicking the video, like something as simple as a thumbnail they've got wrong here. I
mean, they did a better job selling a season update, which is built off PES 20, than they have with their new game. Last year's trailer with Messi, what Whedon's did, it's possibly one of the best trailers that PES has ever brought out. And even though, as I said, it was a season update for PES 2020, it still got a lot of people hyped to actually buy the game, which essentially is, you could say it's just a roster update. But I do feel that when PES 2021 was released, there was a few tweaks that made it a little bit more different than PES 2020. I do feel that PES 2021 has been successful and enjoyable if you've been on PC. I think the modding community is in the best state it's ever been in. You can find any mod on EvoWeb for the smallest detail, from bibs to ball boys being on the sidelines to net mods, lockdown sounds. It's just an amazing time to be in if you're a PES 21 fan. And now that we're on a new engine, there's that whole question now, can this new game be moddable? Because I've seen a lot of people on EvoWeb say that there has been limitations with modding on the Unreal Engine. I don't know anything to do with that myself. But yeah, it was just, as you said, accepting that we're having a season update. They're taking a year off so that the development team can put their extra time into this next generation game, and it was just nothing to what we definitely expected. So,
well, the season update sold really well, didn't it? I think it sold more than PES 20 actually.
It did do well. Like there was times where I just didn't play it because I was just bored. But then you've got Virtua Red, who brought out one of the best all-in-one mods for the PC. And that kept me occupied for a long amount of time because it was just a community-filled mod from the best mods around the world on PES, put all into one big mod for everyone to try. But the problem with that is my experience of having that extra time to play PES and to forget about that we're playing the same game again. Not everyone can do that because PCs aren't cheap, sorry. So not everyone has that luxury of trying PES 21 with the mods. But I do think I'm right in saying this, that it's helped you keep yourself occupied, Terry, with all the mods. Because I know you were console first and then you got yourself a PC with all the mods.
Yeah. I've been putting off PC for years with PES. You hear about all the, I'm talking, I was back doing pixel editing, if you remember pixel editing.
Yes.
For the logos and badges and everything, back in like the mid 2000s. So I'd always, known things would be so much easier on PC, but, with PlayStation, you could do enough, if you had the time. And I think we all know editing PES was this oddly therapeutic experience sometimes. It was half the fun, just sitting in edit mode, getting everything set up. So, we were very used to that. But yeah, it's PES 2021 has surprisingly been, for me, a real joy, especially, getting into PC. And then I'm looking at my version of PES 2021 with the Virtual Red mod, 700 stadiums. I have a face for almost every player in the game. And then I see that trailer and I'm like, I would rather a PES 2022 season update. I would much rather a PES 2022 season update with a couple tweaks here and there. The crazy thing is, I think that that kind of led to the initial just fear I think the trailer really just created fear. That's what it really did. Mm-hmm. Because it felt like they just ripped away all of our childhoods completely, the point where we can't even just get the same, if you want to call it, not that great, but we can't even get the same average game we've been getting anymore. Like they've taken it away to the point where I can't just say, okay, whatever, I'll play PES 2022 with a couple of tweaks. As we know, from PES 2015 really to 2021, it's really been the same game with a couple of tweaks. Obviously, from 15 to 17, and then was kind of similar. Then 18, 19, 20, 21, very similar. I actually felt after I saw the trailer, I'm like, man, I just actually wish he just did another year of this again and tweaked a couple of things. This trailer, it just, people were kind of running with the RIP PES, but it really is that. It really is them saying, and they've said it. They're not holding back. They said, this is not the game, that it's a different game. But you would think, right, if that's the line of thinking you're going with, hey, this is a new thing, that the new thing would be so good, you wouldn't think about the old thing again.
Exactly.
Whereas the new thing had just made us feel like, oh my God, I did not realize that PES 2017 was one of the last peaks we would have. And it's frustrating. And it's even more frustrating, like I mentioned, given just how much talent there is in the community and how much desire there is in the community. I just want us to crowdsource the game. At this point, I'm like, I want PES refugee status. We can all go create our own game. Because I feel like that's where we'd all be happy at this point.
Could you imagine if Konami were really entwined with the community and, imagine if Konami asked the community, who do you want to see on the cover every year? Or if they got more involved with PES Universe and the kit makers, the people that keep PES alive every single year.
Well, I'll tell you what they did do. You saying that when you what would you like in this, that, and the other? They actually did that on the PES dev page that they rarely use on Facebook to ask what kind of legends you want in the game. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it was when PES 2020 released or just after. There was a post on their dev page saying, what legends would you like to see in PES in general? And again, what they're asking for on feedback is like, what are we going to have to do to get these players in for you to spend your money, instead of saying, well, what are we going to do to make the game better? Like, I always think that Konami have a vision and they'll stick to it with a little bit of feedback here and there. I don't know if... I don't know. I don't believe that they listen to the community as much as people think that they do. For me, I was big on the whole mantra of the game is a community-driven game. It technically still is, with all like the kits, the option files, and how content creators have to really make their own content to make stuff engaging, like with your Master Leagues and your My Club series. There's not a lot of content in either mode, so you have to do your own. But we are giving designated feedback to saying, oh, this is what we want. But the only thing that they've really said in terms of what we want is what legends do we want in the game. And to be fair, I weren't really interested in having any legends in the game in My Club, because I do believe there is a user on Twitter called Junior Mantis, I believe, who data mines all the legends, puts them on a USB stick, and you can try them offline anyway. So there is that. But yeah, the only thing I've ever heard them say in terms of, oh, we want your feedback, is just on what legends do you want in the game. So it just kind of shows what they are looking for to what we think they should be looking for.
The thing with Konami is they don't. It seems like when someone in Konami leaves their position, like Whedon's or social media manager Asim, when they leave, they don't replace them. Like we don't have a social media manager to give feedback to anymore. No,
we don't. I think the Brazilian manager left. I think his name was Andre Bronzoni. I'm sure he left and he's gone to a different gaming company. Adam left his role and now he does like a commercial role for all of Konami, not just PES. And I think is it Robbie Ron? I think he does the brand manager stuff for the Latin America side of things. But yes, I think you are completely correct in saying that we've really got no middleman. We've got no one to go to in terms of concerns or anything like that, to a point where the only way we think we can get any kind of feedback over is just by making videos or just trying to reply to them on some kind of way on social media. But you just get automated responses every time you email them or if you tweet them on Twitter. So yeah, I really don't know where our feedback goes, but we'll see next month with their next piece of news that they're going to bring out. Hopefully it's good for offline players, but we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. I just can't believe we don't have a social media presence at the company in 2021. It's. I mean, I still see a lot of people tweeting Adam a lot, but he's not really involved in PES that closely anymore. And at the time, I did think that the Facebook dev page was a good idea. It was a little bit more communication with the devs in Japan directly, apparently.
I think the only reason that they launched that, just from a personal view of mine, is because I think the community managers for PES back then were getting so much shit that they just want to. They just wanted probably just to say, look, if you want to diverge anything to do with the game, here's where you can actually put it, and just let the community managers do their job. Because I think there was a situation as well with Corey. He worked for EA Sports FIFA. He was one of their he was one of their community managers, and I swear to God, he got absolutely rinsed every time he posted something. Personally, if it was like just a normal tweet of, for example, just saying, "Oh, I'm walking my dog," you'd probably get someone in the comments saying, "Fix your game. This is shit," etc. And
I think they had to make a faceless social media feedback account, didn't they? Because he was getting that much abuse.
Yeah.
But just thinking, what was that guy Jonas? Was it Lingard?
Oh, Lingard, yeah, Mr. Shoeman.
Mr. Shoeman.
Yes, he. I mean, he's gone too, right? So I know I brought up earlier just the idea that like it just feels like the company laid off a lot of people and decided to streamline and just be a much cheaper product to produce, which is why I think that's what's gone on behind the scenes. I don't know if there's been any news about Konami. I don't follow like gaming company news as closely as I should sometimes. So I don't know if there's been any news about Konami just as a company with regards to that, but it really just feels like they scale down everything they're doing, right? Even the graphics of the game. They just seem to scale down and say, hey, look, we can operate, as a much cheaper product to produce, and we're still going to make 70% of the same profits in year one, and maybe over the next 5 years, because of the growth of mobile gaming in developing markets, we're going to actually end up around the same as where we are currently, but with a quarter of the staff. So why are we catering to people that aren't bringing in the kind of money that we want? And it's frustrating. You don't even want to believe this, because the idea that, like, you know, we're never going to have a good Master League. I'm going to be playing PES 2021 and all the retro games forever now is a really sobering thought, and one that I don't necessarily, you know, want to have. But like I said earlier, right, the writing's on the wall. You mentioned a couple of the people that left. You add in Whedon's, you add in Jonas to that. It's like, where are these people? They're not replacing them. So it's just kind of all going into the void now. And do they even care? You know, maybe they are listening to their fans, just we aren't those fans. They're listening to what they're seeing in terms of the number of downloads, the mobile gaming industry. And it's really crazy, because you can see very clearly that FIFA were, if not worried, that's probably a bit too far, but they definitely took into account what Konami and PES were doing. Because they've, as much as I, you know, really don't enjoy FIFA, and honestly, I haven't really played FIFA since like FIFA 2006. I played with friends every now and then if I, you know, go by their house or something, but I haven't bought the game since then. I was a kid, and you know, I'm looking at it now. FIFA clearly anticipating some kind of, you know, genre-changing effort from PES, have tried to put things in their game. You know, they are revamping their My Player mode. I meant to mention that they are revamping it this year in some regard. Career mode seems to be getting some more things. They added create a stadium, create a team, things that, you know, FIFA fans have been asking for forever. I see FIFA actually as trying to maybe preemptively strike against Konami, you know, shaking up the football gaming industry. And now it's like all their work didn't really need to be done, because Konami just totally left the game. They just completely left any kind of competing on that level. And we're left with what we got. And I don't see how we can be positive about the next drop of news. Even if they panic based on the response right now and try to put together something incredible for next month, it's like year 5 of Konami promising things at this point. And they've, every iteration, they've not delivered. So I'm like, where is this proof anymore? You know, how much are we still holding on to nostalgia and ultimately hope?
I do agree. I do think EA was keeping an eye on PES this year, and I do agree with that, because just like, you know, a lot of people say, you know, there's not really much competition between the two games and FIFA's leagues ahead, but you look at FIFA, every year they'll take one or two features that PES has had. Like, for example, with the career mode, you know, you can now create your own career mode manager, which you can't even do on PES anymore. And I always do think EA have kept an eye on Konami and what PES are doing.
Yeah, there's certain elements of what PES has, FIFA's got now. Like in FIFA, we have, is it player styles? Where, it's in like PES, you've got like the destroyer or the marksman or whatever. FIFA's got that now, so it's their way of saying, oh, look, if we put this on like a player like Fabinho, he'll stay back and he'll prevent from attacking. And yes, you are correct in saying that like FIFA have looked at PES and started taking elements of their stuff and putting it in their game. While that they are doing that, it is healthy that they are doing it, because it's just showing that they understand that that should be in their game as well. But with FIFA 23 potentially be going free to play, the only positive that I feel that FIFA are being a paid release this year and a free-to-play next year is that FIFA fans have time to digest that their game is going free-to-play. Whereas when our eFootball trailer came out, it was just free-to-play with no news up until when we got the trailer. So when FIFA 23 does come out, fans have got time to adjust to the game being free or whatever model they're going to go down with their offline modes, whereas us, we don't even know what we are really getting now. Because there's also been so many rumours that there's some kind of a build that other people are playing that's graphically superior to the one that we've seen, and I can't really believe that until I see it, Because if there is a build out there that is graphically superior, then why wasn't it shown in the trailer? Because the trailer that we've been given hasn't given us the greatest of impressions to be excited about this new journey that Konami are trying to go down to. And I am actually glad that they have changed the name to eFootball, because if this new model was associated with the name Pro Evolution Soccer, then in my opinion that name would be tarnished, because we know now that PES is the franchise of stories, beautiful moments, and the nostalgia feeling from all the other iterations from your childhood. We now have that. But if we had PES as the free-to-play game with what they released, I do believe that name would have been, the title would have been tarnished. But going forward, like I said, the name sucks, but I'm glad that no way of means of Pro Evolution Soccer is in there. Other than, if you go on their website, it says that eFootball comes from the makers of PES, and that's the only thing that's really PES in that regard.
Yeah, EA are going to be keeping a very close eye on how well eFootball does, I think.
I think FIFA's free to play will do well as well, because they've already got the blueprint in terms of their Ultimate Team mode, SBCs, constant content refreshes every week. They use their Champions League, Europa League, I think it's Copa Libertadores, is it that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They use that to push content in their Ultimate Team game modes. There's so much content, even for an offline user in Ultimate Team. If you don't want to play online in Ultimate Team, that's fine. You've got something called squad battles where you can grind it against community voted teams, and you can go against the computer and earn your coins, earn your players, buy your packs. So there's other avenues of content within FIFA, whereas in PES, if you want to get content in PES, you've either got to make it up on the spot, or you've got to buy these players, because everyone in PES wants to see you get Kaka and see how he plays. But the only way you're going to do that is if you put money into it. And Fish touched on it on his stream to do with like the micro transactions and all that. That every content creator for my club has to have something unique for people to tune in, because the content itself in the game is that bad. Fish plays on Twitch, and he has got like the champion badge, which is, I think that's like when you get to 1,000 rating. He's done it with a default team, and he's very good at the game. And then you've got, I think it's Precision. He does my club, but he only uses like Scottish Premier League players. So everyone's got their own spin on their own content, because the actual content in-game, there's none of it, and it's the content that is available is just behind a paywall.
It's just nothing to do in my club, is there?
No.
Like, after a month or so, when everyone's got really good players, after a month or two, there's nothing to do. I think there's weekly tournaments here and there, and they release the legends throughout the year, but I mean, you compare it to FIFA, it's night and day, the content. It is night and day.
100%.
Yeah, Konami is a really baffling company when it comes to PES, because they hide excellent features, they never promote them, they never really explain them. Even has had me thinking of the Euro 2020 license, which
they
did nothing on for, I think, the first 3 weeks of the tournament, maybe a tweet here and there, while FIFA, for pretty much every game, were posting just a simple screenshot of the team saying, hey, Italy's playing today. No reference to Euro 2020, of course, because they don't have the license. But Konami did nothing, and then around the semifinals or quarterfinals, I think, they finally put out some kind of tweet. And guess what? Us in the community were retweeting it. We were so happy that they finally did something, like we're cheering on our little brother. They are just, Cam, you brought up the player rules in FIFA, right? They added this in last year. They also added in position changes, which is something that has been in Master League. If you play a player out of position, you eventually learn that position. Even the team rules, they've never really, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've ever actually gone in depth explaining it. And I spent a couple weeks ago, I spent like an hour on the PES Neo Seeker Wikipedia. If you guys have seen it.
Yes, it is. It might be old, but I tell you, it's got so much detailed information in there that doesn't get spoken about publicly, and it's just like, it's in your game. Just speak about it, but it just doesn't get spoken about
At all. It's actually insane. I think that, so I'm looking at it and I'm looking at all the team rules. I didn't realize that the team rules specifically come from what the player actually does on the pitch. So if you take someone and you just, obviously there are players that already have, certain team rules when they come in. If you take a young player in Master League, for example, and you dribble with him every game, right? He's not just going to get a random team rule, he's going to get a specific team rule. And I looked at how it worked and like the leveling up and the charts that are in Master League that sometimes you don't see, next to like their personality. I didn't realize that their personality also comes from what they do on the pitch. Like what you actually do on the pitch creates their personality. Things that I don't think PES or Konami have ever spoken about.
I didn't even know
I read it. See, exactly. I actually read it a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think I realized that the player personality thing. I'm trying to remember the personalities that you see pop up in Master League now. But there's that chart with like 8 different personalities, I think, and you end up being one of the 2. It's really based on what you actually do on the pitch. And I saw this and I said, this feature, if someone actually put it together and presented it in a trailer, would sound incredible to people. FIFA doesn't even have something that in depth. But again, Konami have great features that just sit in their games that they don't explain. And then when it comes to online, they just don't do nearly enough. It's pretty bland. And you would think, if they want to go with this focus on online, they would double or triple down on, challenges and events. But it just feels like they're just doing the bare minimum and really relying on the love people have for the series. But it's expiring. One of the sad thoughts that I have is that I'm brought up how well the modern community is doing now, how vast it is. I do worry that this was the peak and it's just gonna keep declining now. Because no matter what, as much as people still love PES 6, PES 2013, and even PES 2021, if there are no new games out, the game itself, at least that iteration of it, it's not going to convince people to keep coming back and doing new things for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of sad to think of. I mean, our only hope now is that the new drop next month and then the subsequent offline DLC is going to be anything, but it's not. There's no way. I would be flabbergasted if anything next month or in beginning of 2022 was remotely good or surprising or exciting. It would be a complete departure from everything they've really been, unfortunately, for the past few years. And then, like I said, the writing's on the wall. Sometimes when someone reveals themselves to you, you have to believe them. And I think they're being very clear. Like, this is who we are now. And, the game that you loved isn't really here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, it really hasn't been too, right, for a while, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people don't even know there's a dive button in PES.
Exactly.
I see that a lot on Twitter. And like a lot of people don't even know that they play PES or FIFA. And also, you remember when they dropped the random select? I think, was it PES 18, PES 19?
Yeah, they brought it back, didn't they?
Select mode. They brought it back. Didn't really mention it that much. No online mode still for that game mode, which I think an online edition of that game mode would do really well. I think it'd be really enjoyable. And again, like they don't. A lot of people don't even probably know that's in the game, that game mode.
I mean, it's like with Terry saying there's stuff they've already got in the game they don't speak about. It's the same with data packs. Like they release data packs, and instead of getting us excited, seeing the new face models, they rely on the community to data mine it for us to find the faces. And instead of them being proud of showing off what they've done in terms of updating new faces or adding new hair or updating a model to make him current to how he's playing right now, they don't say anything. Even when they used to say that a data pack is dropping, and they used to put an image with like 5 faces on, saying that these faces are coming in the next data pack. They don't even promote their data packs anymore. Data packs come through the Steam database, which is then leaked, saying that there's a new data pack coming, and That's even now got to a point where all data pack names are hidden in the Steam database because they didn't want anyone finding out about them. So it's just like, you're not really giving me anything here, but the things that we have got aren't spoken about an awful lot. PES does have a lot of good core features in the game, but it's just, do you have the time to fully experiment on them? Because at the same time, the company who makes the game, they don't even do that either. So it's just one of them. We have the features or some good elements in the game, but we just don't know hardly about them. And even for people coming from FIFA, they wouldn't know. Like you said, with the dive button, a lot of people didn't know that there was a dive button, but I do believe it's been in since PES 2008. I'm not sure if you can do it on PES 5 or 6, but
I can't remember. Yeah, but yeah, it's been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. I feel like it might have been in. I remember. So I had, because I was in the Americas, I had Winning 11 2007, which I believe is PES. Is that PES 5? I think.
Is it the one on 360?
No, I had the one on PlayStation, but it's the one with Adriano on the cover.
Oh, it's PES 6.
PES 6, right? Yeah. I feel like you could dive there, but you guys are right. There are so many things. Even this bare bones Master League we have now. I was just poking around on the Neo Seeker for PES, and I was like, oh, whoa, that's a thing? I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't realize that mattered. And there's so many different things, even with the Master League they have now, if they wanted to repackage it and actually put together a trailer that explained the things in the game, it would actually even get people excited. But they just seem, it really just feels like they're scaling down the company. You know, you look back to how they would promote data packs. Haven't done that they haven't done that since 2019, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So it's like they just don't care. You know, I can't think of any other game where it's a requirement for anyone involved with the game to translate things from different languages constantly to get a sliver of information. We are like researchers just trying to find anything about PES. I'm sure we're all following multiple Brazilian accounts just to get any kind of information, and those guys do an incredible job. But it's just crazy that we have to go to these lengths to even get a morsel from Konami. It's really baffling, just even from a company standpoint. You know, like, you guys have something that people are so passionate about. You guys want to make money. You could probably make more money by doing a couple of these things, but they have their model, and it must be working in some degree. I will be looking a lot more into PES Mobile and just the numbers, because I really do want to understand the scale of it, because this isn't happening by accident. You know, this is something that they have thought about. Even if they didn't think about the trailer, they did think about what they want their focus to be.
I think PES Mobile's got 500 million downloads. Is that right?
I think I am one in that 500 million. I have downloaded it, but I played like one game, and I just can't get to grips with like having like an analog stick on the screen. It just doesn't. It just doesn't really work. And then you've got like the different size buttons for pass and shoot. But like Terry said earlier, if you go on YouTube and type in PES Mobile, the views and the videos itself, they are very, very successful. Ball openings, playing PES Mobile, it's just like a community that has made them so much money that it's like they've essentially got mobile like done and dusted. They know how much they can make. I mean, even through COVID, they still made profits. Their fiscal report came out a couple of months ago. I can't remember what month it was, but Yu-Gi-Oh! And PES Mobile were their top two main sellers for like the microtransactions, and it just shows that they're always going to have mobile now, because all like the Indonesian countries are playing it, and all the other smaller countries, and because it's available on handheld, obviously everyone's gonna try the game.
I do like the fact you can. I think they've told us that you have to use a controller, don't you?
Yes, that's right. So,
or eFootball.
Well, according to their information, you have to connect a compatible controller to play, which is good. Because I did have concerns, not for like the controls on mobile. I did have concerns on like the frame rate of like the mobile game performing, but according to other news coming out now, I say other news, I think it was that Reddit leak saying that depending on what platform, so if you're against a mobile opponent and you've got a next-gen console, your console version will be downscaled to the mobile version so that you can actually play against that mobile version. But that mobile player, sorry. I don't know how concrete and true that Reddit leak is. And I think that's what we're getting on to next is the Reddit leak. And
yeah, the Reddit leak. Have you guys looked into it a lot or not?
Yes, I say slipped into it. I've looked into it, and there has been a second response. I don't know if you've seen. Like, there's been
no, I haven't. No.
Bear with me. I will bring it up, and it just outlined some other things.
The thing with it, I'm not sure I believe it, but
no, me neither.
I mean, I know. I mean, he's replied a lot, and he's not contradicted himself yet.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me thinks, surely someone doesn't have that much time on their hands. But then again, it is the internet and it is Reddit, so maybe someone does have that much time on their hands.
I mean, a lot of that information does have a lot of logic behind it on what he's saying. But at the same time, anyone who's on the internet can be an imposter. And that's the thing, like, can we trust what he's saying? Again, he's dropping dates as well. He's saying that the 25th of August is the next apparent news drop, which, again, no confirmation other than we know it's coming next month. But this is what he said in the second summary. He said that the reveal trailer was designed to get people hyped about free-to-play, cross-gen platform and cross-gen and one-on-one mechanics. The team in charge thought this would be more important to users than showcasing visuals. I expect they know better now. There has been a deluge of feedback from the community and internally. And then he goes on to say, next-gen graphics are next-gen, just not as good as the reveal trailer, which was more of, this is what we are aspiring to. Unreal Engine 5 will help a lot with that. We are in Unreal Engine 4 at launch. It also says that in the trailer, only the shots of the stadium were captured on next-gen. PC is not next-gen at launch, but that will change, but we've not been told when. PC is still moddable. No option files for Xbox. That's a Microsoft issue, which is pretty factual. The reason why we can't have option files is due to Microsoft's stance on like image importation. Also goes on to say that they've not had a single build that they've played with commentary, so they can't answer any questions about commentary. The environmental sound is poor in the builds we've played, but we've been assured that this will be fixed for launch. Currently no 11v11. This doesn't mean it's not in the game, but we have not seen it. Servers are dedicated and will be from launch. The server test was a server test. I know many of you don't believe it was, but it was. That's what it says. Not that those weren't my own words. Don't shoot me. There was some other tests happening too. You may have noticed a difference in visual fidelity between games. I can't reveal why, but it was important. And the last bit was the next reveal is still scheduled for the 25th of August. If you keep pressuring Konami and eFootball social medias, you could get them to move this, or at least some more info/footage before then. And then it says at the bottom, please don't go after Adam or any other employees individually, as they don't have the power to change the schedule. Thanks, and have a lovely weekend. I mean, again, a lot of logical responses.
A lot of logical responses.
But I just don't know if it's real or not. I personally don't think it is. Just because I have never seen, even though the trailer was bad, I've never seen anyone undercover come on a website to technically defend the company that they're working for, to give us a sense that we shouldn't really be worrying, even though what we have seen is worrying. But again, a lot of the things he is saying looks legit, but if you are smart enough to know the industry and to know the games genre in general, then it could calm a lot of people down. But for me, I don't know. It seems like whoever this person is trying to undo the damage that's been done from the reveal and trying to ease a lot of people's minds. But I didn't really take too much notice to the first one other than reading what he said, and reading this second part, I don't really see the legitness in it and I don't think there's any validity to what he's saying, because we don't know who this person is. Like I said, anyone can pretend to be anyone behind a screen.
Yeah, and people do have a lot of free time. So
Exactly.
There is a lot of interesting things in there. The point on putting pressure on Konami, the fact that Konami tweet the next day about Master League, it does make me think, did they feel the pressure of people asking, where is Master League? Where's Master League? It is interesting. I
do think Master League was going to come one way or another, but I just didn't think it was in their potential priority to say something about it at this time. But again, it comes back to the legacy fans. As much as, the game is changing with the times, there's still an offline player base that still wants to play Master League. There's still an offline player base that is heavily passionate about where the mode is going, despite it not being the best for the past 7 installments. So for us to feel kind of left out from that reveal, there is an understanding on why we were basically saying, where is Master League? And for them to say it the next day, they probably did cave in from community pressure.
And with the cross-gen stuff, I know Konami have said it will utilize the full power of next gen, but I can't see how it can fully utilize next gen when you're playing at someone with mobile. I understand graphics can scale up and down, but from a gameplay perspective,
downscaled from the ground up.
That's what I mean. How can the gameplay be?
It's built from the ground down. The thing is, just going back to the leak and everything, the idea of free to play, and I guess one of my theories when I look back on, we spoke about the trailer a bit and how can they release this. I wonder if they were just so misinformed, I guess, to what the reception would be, that they genuinely thought, hey, this game is free now. Had people doing backflips. Because no one really cares about that. And I do need to delve in, like I said, to the mobile community a bit more. Actually, Cam, I just went back while you were speaking to look at the the Reddit leak, and I noticed that the PES page on Reddit has about 49,000 subscribers or followers, and the mobile page has 45,000. So that's pretty much a 50-50 user base just on Reddit alone, but still interesting to think about, because I've never used a PES mobile. It
is interesting to think about, because I don't think, PES Mobile hasn't been around for the past 10 years. I want to say the first mobile installment was probably 2017, maybe 18.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah. So exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the mobile page and see exactly what they thought. I remember I did look kind of on the first day, but there was just so much going on, I didn't focus on it. But I'm actually very interested to see their entire thoughts on this, on what it is for them. But the idea of cross-platform, everyone can play, everyone free to play. Those are interesting concepts. In fact, those are very modern thinking concepts, even if you just forget the offline stuff.
It is. It's forward thinking. It's forward thinking.
Yeah. Cool stuff, right? It's whoa, that's actually pretty cool. How in the world is Konami the ones to pull this off? Because that's where I go back to it. There are companies where if they did announce this, I would fully trust that we were going to see that through to fruition. It's going to be a great product, etc. Konami are the last company I can think of right now that we're really going to figure this out and make it work. Because I genuinely think, looking at this, I'm looking at their roadmap, right? Even the roadmap doesn't show that it's happening from day one. It shows that first it's going to be PS4 to PS5, Xbox to Series X, and then later on more things will be integrated. And you mentioned this earlier too, Cam. You mentioned that the roadmap just looked like they're not done. Yeah, they're nowhere near done. That's really what it looks like. It looks like they just got to a point where they had to put something out because it's already almost August and we've heard nothing. So they just put this together quickly. They're like, hey, we could put this thing out. But I just don't see, honestly, how in year one they're going to pull this off because there's nothing. They haven't even really they have not streamlined the current online experience.
No.
So the idea that they're now going to take this leap and do something 10 times more complicated and do it better, right? When the trailer looked like that, when the thumbnail looked like that, and I will keep bringing up the thumbnail because if anything, the thumbnail could have looked really good.
No, honestly, thumbnails are first impressions. Like they really are. Like what makes you click on a video. What makes you want to try and get involved with whatever they are presenting. But with it being a game, you don't really tend to be bothered because like you're just going to click and watch it anyway. But from a quality standpoint, even the thumbnails in like very, very bad quality, like Messi's face and I think it's Neymar who's next to him, they look like they've just been loaded onto the pitch. They've gone into the replay mode and they've just taken off the hood and was like, you know what, we're going to Photoshop you and you together with a nice blue background saying eFootball trailer, nothing premium about it at all, and we're just going to stick with it. Like Terry said, they're cutting costs and they're doing it on thumbnails as well.
Yeah, I have no idea who put that together. But yeah, it just feels like, they're showing us who they are and they're changing. That the leaks, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before as well. What other gaming company, especially, we're talking about the most popular sport in the world by far,
yes,
right? The sport where you have the biggest demand for a quality game. And it just feels like, it really feels like they gave up. Like they gave up because they were just getting beaten too long by FIFA. And they just got to the point where they feel like not competing anymore and only competing in an arena where they have had success. Because I believe FIFA Mobile stopped in like 2016, is it? So I feel like, they're just leaning into that. And we're out here like, like archaeologists digging through find any kind of information. We're relying on Reddit leaks. We're relying on the Brazilian market. We're relying on leaks that we see in Australia about the game, in the files and all this stuff. And I'm just like, it's such a backwards experience as compared to what you would expect from a game that has so much brand recognition, right, and has so much loyal support. So it is, I don't really, I did a video on the leaks. I think the thing is with the leaks is you want to believe them, right? Because as much as the leaks weren't just like, oh, it's incredible, don't worry about it. Leaks are the first time I was like, okay, there is Master League. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think the leaks, did the leaks come out before they even said anything about Master League? That's what I'm trying to remember.
I'm not too sure,
It
mate.
may have been like maybe the same day they both came out. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we're even like looking at these leaks and hoping like, okay, it's not as bad as it looked. It's really ridiculous for, what Konami and PES has been. But, like I said, I keep saying PES. It's not PES anymore. It's this thing. And if they can scale down the company, make a lot of money going mobile, mostly cross-platform, and it's just a game for, like, that fan base, and they're going to make money and not have as many expenses, then yeah. But then you have to ask yourself, they're spending all this money on partnerships and they're acquiring more and doing all these things. That doesn't really line up with what they're doing in terms of free to play and this mobile game either. So it's I don't know, we'll see. Those cutscenes, people have brought up those cutscenes from the trailer. Though I think actually probably the most interesting scenes of the trailer were those locker room scenes with the license clubs. Except for that shot of Danilo, which just looks.
It looks like an older Ronaldo.
Danilo is, what? They should just lean into it, and the next trailer should just be the thumbnail should just be that picture of Danilo. just lean into it, become like a meme game at this point. But yeah, I think at this point really we just have to sit back and really just see what actually comes out officially next. I think this year, no matter what, is going to be a painful year, even with the DLC rollouts. But I've even said this as well. I propose there is a fan base that will pay for a very good Master League experience.
I am one of them.
I think all of us here are. I even suggested if you made it $5 a month, but you knew you were going to get consistent updates, right? You're gonna get a football manager-esque experience. You're gonna get developers who are constantly talking with you about what you like, what you don't like. There is a fan base that would happily pay for it, but I genuinely think this DLC is gonna be so half-assed.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be so just put together. I mean, I'm hoping it's at least gonna be PES 2021's Master League, and I really fear it may not even be that. I could see a Master League where you maybe can't even really edit. You know what I mean? At least the way we can now, and you just don't have the freedom, even though it's still pretty restricted. What can we really expect from Master League at this point? 3-year plan was years ago. We got a couple cutscenes, and here we are today, where it's not even a thing. And at earliest, it's gonna be sometime maybe after, to be honest, the January transfer window next year, which is insanity.
You bring up like a really, really good point, as in like, even though we were promised large updates, you saying like, imagine if we get a Master League that isn't what PES 2021 was. I do get where you're coming from with that, because with generation changes from like PS2 to PS3 and then PS3 to PS4, I do believe when PES 2013's Master League came out, it was widely regarded and still is as one of the best. When you switch to the PS4, or I think it was PS4 where PES 2014 came out, or it was 15, it was one of the two. The Master League was stripped, like really bad, really, really bad. And it just begs the question, with another generation change, even though they have promised updates, will eFootball's Master League be a stripped down version of PES 21's Master League? I don't regard PES 21 and 2020's Master League as high as all the others, but at the same time, there is a pattern of content loss within generation changes.
I have a feeling it's just going to be another reskin. That is what the 3-year plan was, basically. It was just a reskin with, the cutscenes were nice, but you play one season and you've seen them all.
Yeah, you've seen it all. The dialogue doesn't change. Your decisions in press conferences doesn't make any influence towards the fans or the board. You can go on a 20 loss streak on Master League and you are still the right man for the job. So there's just no immersion for Master League. But there is one thing that has got me thinking in terms of this whole free-to-play model, even though we are technically on the Reddit subject at the moment. Do you think Konami's route going down free-to-play was to get ahead of FIFA? Now, the only reason I say that is because it's always been FIFA that's taken their foot through the door before Konami. We saw Ultimate Team before Konami's version. We saw decent gameplay from FIFA back in the day. From like 2008 up until like 2011. In that time period, Konami were still figuring out what their formula was for good gameplay. And then in that time where Konami were trying to figure their gameplay out, FIFA were already making money from additional modes, because I do remember correctly, Ultimate Team never used to be free. I'm sure it was a paid add-on from FIFA 09 onwards. I'm sure you had...
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure that in FIFA 09 and FIFA 10, maybe FIFA 11, you actually had to pay for Ultimate Team. And then they made Ultimate Team free, obviously, if you bought the game. But it just begs the question, do you think Konami going down this forward-thinking and ambitious route is to do with them trying to get ahead of, like, FIFA?
I think so, yeah. In fact, I'm surprised that EA didn't do it first.
Yeah.
Because if EA made Ultimate Team free, could you, that would be a huge success. Do you know how much more money they would make?
I mean, like I said earlier, they've already got the blueprint for Ultimate Team. They've got the content. They've got the offline game modes, because like I said, you don't really have to play online to get like the best stuff. You can actually get the best players on Ultimate Team, or decent players, but you have to really, really grind to get a good team on FIFA. Like, really grind. There's not like packs that you can get on FIFA that there is in PES. Like in PES, you get the featured players that are released once a week, where you can get a guaranteed like black ball, I'll never forget PES 2019 when they first started doing featured players. Simeone from Fiorentina scored, I think it was a hat-trick, and they gave him a 96 rated black ball version from his like 78 rated base card. And you could just get that straight away. So it just shows that like you can get players so much easier in PES within, to a point where you'd say the My Club game mode can technically be completed within like the first week of it being out because of how easy it is to obtain those players. But in FIFA, it is different where you do have to grind. But yeah, I just wanted to know what you both thought on, like, do you think that Konami are doing this to try and get ahead of FIFA or trying to get ahead in like the football market?
Yeah, in some ways, I see, what was that game last year? Fall Guys. You guys remember Fall Guys?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Came out completely, for a couple of weeks, just had everyone just like, whoa, this is so interesting. Obviously, we've seen, Fortnite really benefit from just being free to play. I do think it's them trying to get ahead of FIFA, but I also think it's them deciding not to fight anymore. I think it's them just reorganizing and saying, hey, if we just have less people working for us, maybe we don't have to actually work as hard and compete on this higher level. The FIFA free-to-play rumors that we've seen, I do doubt them a bit, only because FIFA sells so many copies, and they're going to sell so many this year, specifically because there's basically no competitor. Even us diehards, I'm probably going to buy FIFA this year for the first time since 2006. So,
I am, yeah.
You know what I mean? Thank you, Konami, because you pushed me to. But the fact that I'm going to buy FIFA, and I'm a staunch FIFA hater. Cam is a better person than me. Cam plays FIFA a little bit, and he gets some enjoyment out of it. I've been very anti-FIFA for a very long time. I'm actually going to buy FIFA this year, and tomorrow they're releasing their gameplay trailer, and I'm interested. I'm like, okay, now I'm actually going to pay attention to the trailer because it's the only real football game that seems to be coming out this year, at least, in the fall season. So it's gotten to this point where I think their sales this year are just going to be so insane. They're going to keep it at least for a couple more years because you're throwing away guaranteed money. And everyone's still going crazy online with microtransactions anyway. It's not like they're necessarily, going back and forth between, what if we did this? And EA Sports aren't scaling down. If anything, they're just going to try to dominate more and more and more and more. So I do think it was a combination of, it's almost like they were trying to get both ahead and below. As in, we're trying to get ahead, but not even be on that level at the same time. And, that is what we have. Cam, I did want to bring this up. One quick thing, a little bit off topic, but you brought up earlier about Master League and the things you have to answer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's crazy is, and just to show you secret things in the game that you don't know about, that we don't know about, I got fired in my Chelsea Master League. I was playing full manual Legend. It was the first time playing Legend, so it was pretty hard. I finished 4th in the league, and I won the FA Cup. But because I promised that I'd win the league, I got fired, and I couldn't believe it. It's the last video in my series of Chelsea, and you can see in the video I'm in shock when it happens because I had no idea I could get fired. So even then the mechanics are so confusing. I didn't even know that was a thing or that my answers at the beginning mattered that much. But even then it was stupid because I won the FA Cup. But just another example of Konami, just confusion.
It's now that you've said that, it's probably like a Konami Easter egg. Like, yeah, we'll just sack you for the sake of it. Yeah, we've done well. But the thing is, like, we've touched on it earlier about things being in the game, and like we don't really know about it because it's not advertised. It's not really advertised that your responses in the media on Master League are like equivalent to anything. Like, if that is the case, that they do have influence, then there's no like bar or there's no like mechanic to say that what you're saying in the media is good or bad. I know in PES 18 there was owner's trust and challenges where like you had a percentage bar to let you know if you are doing well from like the I think it's the chairman. But again, I think that was removed from 19 or 20. So again, it's like little things that come in just go like the year after. But
I remember that actually.
But that's mad to think that even though you promised to win the league, and the game doesn't really say that your decisions have any influence or not. It's mad to think that you got a Champions League place on full manual, playing on legend, and you win a trophy and you get sacked.
I'm gonna send you guys a link because it was genuine. I had no idea. I even knew I was playing the game. I win the FA Cup over Arsenal 4-2. I'm excited. The next cutscene. Oh, you didn't achieve our objectives. You're fired. And I'm in utter shock. I had no idea I could get fired.
That is incredible.
Another classic example of Konami confusion. And you mentioned, Cam, just them deleting features and things like that. If they had just done the 2013 Master League again this year, it would be pandemonium. It would be backflips.
Yes.
It is 8 years old, and it would have been the most exciting moment for the series in 8 years if they just said, hey, guess what? Remember that Master League we liked? We're bringing back the entire thing, and we're also going to bring back the feature where you could see the all-time top goal scorers from PES 6, which I know you all love.
Oh my God, yes. I want that in my Master League.
That's it. Those two things, and you would have seen the most positive response. But yes, again, we talk about these things, and I have to keep reminding myself, I am maybe just not the person that they care about anymore. And as much as these things seem to make sense to us, right? It's not where they're even remotely focused, and it's sad. I think my real question, or the thing that entices me now, is with Konami and eFootball essentially kind of bowing out. Is some other developer looking at this and thinking, I have a 3 year, maybe there's something I could do in the next 2-3 years. Maybe there's some part of this market I can get into. We've seen with, I don't know what the company's name is. Oh, Big Ant. I don't know if you guys know Big Ant Studios, but I know they've released a couple of really good cricket games and the tennis game. I've really enjoyed both of those games. I grew up in Trinidad, so I'm a big cricket fan as well. So I enjoyed both of those games a lot, and they tweaked them a lot over time. It was kind of like an open beta where they took feedback and they kept adjusting the game and making it better and better. And I know the tennis game in particular, the tennis game was really poor at first, but after like 6 months, it was actually a pretty incredible tennis game. So I do wonder if, I'm really hoping that someone decides to take a stab. Because if you look to the past, we had so many football games. I didn't play most of them, but there were a lot of them out there at the same time in the mid 2000s and stuff. And if any sport deserves more than like really honestly one company competing, it's football. I really hope, the licenses are a big issue, but I would really love if some developer takes the time, crowdsources something, and just makes a game that has maybe no licenses but does the magic on the pitch. That would be well received, and I'm hoping, if any silver lining from this entire thing, that this kind of opens up that conversation maybe for some developers out there.
Do you know what? I never welcomed like a third football game into the fold, just because essentially that I saw that company would if a company would come along to make a third football game, that they would be collecting scraps from, in terms of like licenses and whatnot. But now that we're going down this route, I would actually now welcome it, because like Terry said, it's all what matters is on the pitch. And even if we can't get like a FIFA Pro license for the players, just make the names up, make a fake database, and a community could sort that out. As long as you get a game that performs on the pitch, that has some kind of graphical quality that will entice you in, and you can get invested in as well, I would definitely welcome it. I mean, I believe we haven't seen a Fight Night game since Fight Night Champion, which was 2011, and now we've got that esports boxing. That looks absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if any of you have seen it at all.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that looks insane. That's a great example, actually, Cam, of what I'm kind of thinking. The esports boxing thing looks like exactly the kind of project I think we would love for football.
Yeah, Cam, once this podcast is finished, I would highly recommend you going to look up, I think it's ESBC, or it's something like that. Esports boxing, basically. Just type that in. And it is a small like dev company who are making a boxing game, and they are very, very open in taking in feedback. And you should see, even though they are making their first boxing like sports game, you should see like the roster that they have got. They've got Canelo, they've got I don't think Mayweather's in there, but they've got like Eddie Hall in there as well. They've got Eubank Jr., they've got Josh Warrington, like top UK boxers, and the game, it actually looks really good, and it's all based on like realism, from like how your body's turning to when your body's turning into a punch, and like the heavier you are, the more punches that you do, the more that you'll tire quicker. It looks phenomenal, and everything that people have been commenting on, they've been taking it on board. I do believe that they have a Discord as well, which the devs do post in now and again.
That is incredible. Discord.
But yeah, I do highly recommend looking at their stuff. A lot of their stuff at the moment is like work in progress, but it is some good stuff.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Wow, yeah, I would love a small indie developer to come in.
Like I said, like just make a fake database, and that can obviously be sorted if the database is allowed to be like edited. But we, as like football fans, football gaming fans, we would welcome, you know, anything that's, I wouldn't say a competitor, but someone who can throw like a spanner in the works and just be like, look, we might not have got the licenses, we might not have got this, that, and the other, but what we've got is good gameplay. And if anything like that happened, then I would be more than welcome to try it.
That's the thing, like an indie developer would just need to just nail the gameplay and give the community the tools to sort the rest of it out, all the licenses, everything. Just give the community the tools, and we all sort out all the licenses.
Mm-hmm.
You have to compete with EA or Konami.
I'm sure on EvoWeb there's like a thread of like potentially creating like their own video game after the news that came out. And if I'm being completely honest, if anyone was to make or try to source some kind of a football game, the amount of talented modders on that site in terms of their knowledge in programs and implemented free mods for the community, it would be really nice to see a community-based game come out from all the wizards of like the modding community, because to be fair, they've already enhanced my PES 21 experience, and I know that they are enhancing a game that's already released and they're just adding their like flair to it. But if they know what we want in terms of like the small kind of mod things, if everyone could get together, all the creative minds, as I said, to make something of a football game, then it would be very, you know, special to see. But I don't know if that would ever come into fruition, because it would be very, very time consuming, and unless you've got like the resources and sources to do it, then I don't know what will happen. But as I said, there are a lot of creative minds on a lot of websites to do with PES and outside of PES as well. There are a lot of people who do have a vast knowledge on how to make a game, and with eFootball now being currently criticised, I think myself, I wouldn't mind seeing a new like developer trying a football game.
Yeah, mods is something I've never really got into. I think, like Terry said earlier, I think I'm a bit put off of trying out the mods on PC, but some of the things I've seen are incredible. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched Night MD on YouTube.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
But, like, I watch his videos, and sometimes it's like I don't even know if I'm watching a real game or not. Like, some of the mods are incredible, especially, you know, if you're playing manual.
But the thing is, when he made his videos, everything was like manual modding. You had to add everything in. So he's worked so hard to get his game looking like that, obviously with the help of the community. And now there is the Virtua Red all-in-one mod, which gives you near enough everything what he has in the game, so you can have it yourself. And it just makes life easier, because if there wasn't that Virtua Red patch, there would be a couple of other patches that you could try. But to have that kind of quality, you would need to learn how to use Cider, which it's actually straightforward. But if you are modding for the first time, taking on a lot of information can be complicated and it can be confusing. But if you do ever get a PC and if you do ever want to try PES 21, download the Virtua Red mod. It is, and I know Terry will back me up on this, it's incredible. Like the immersion, scoreboards, ad boards, goal nets, stadiums, all the other little additions that make it like a real quality, community-esque like build. It's just absolutely like incredible. It's everything that you want in a football game that's in there. I mean, even if you're not satisfied with like the current game of, I don't know, there's not a lack of fouls or penalties or anything like that. There's a guy on EvoWeb who does gameplay mods that increases the number of fouls, that increases the number of penalties, that can decrease the accuracy of AI free kicks. So like the world is yours on like the modding side of things. You've just got to trial and test things out. But the Virtua Red all-in-one patch, I would definitely recommend if you do ever get a PC.
I need to try it. I think I need to try it.
Yeah, and I am someone who, like I said, I was a console gamer literally up until like February 2021, right, with PES. And I would honestly say, this may sound like, hyperbole, but the gap between a option file and a very good option file on PS4 and the Xbox version, which can't be modded, is not as big as the gap between PS4 with option files and PC. Is absolutely a different experience. The most popular video I've ever done, I think it has maybe 80,000 views now, was me freaking out to adding these mods to PES for the first time because I just added it and I couldn't believe it. All the managers are there. They look completely lifelike. Amazing face models. Every single player in the game has a face. So from now on, I don't even have to think about what the data pack is, right? Now I can buy a young player who's maybe rated 72, but he has his faces in the game. There are mods to fix how players progress in Master League. So players are, they can go from 68 rated to 82 rated over a few seasons like they might in real life. Like Cam mentioned, I get 7 penalties or so a season now. AI doesn't score every free kick. The gameplay mods are insane. And then when you think of this, just going back to kind of the bigger picture, it really does show if this community can scrap together. And the thing is, they're not even all working together as a group. This is one of the most important things about this. Everyone's kind of doing their own mod. They do combine, obviously, to do different things, but a lot of people are doing their own things, and you kind of put things together yourself. I can't imagine if you got these people really together working on a cohesive project with an end goal in mind. What would Evo Web 2022 look like? So I can only hope, if anything, this change by Konami, I think, is the biggest chance we'll see that someone's going to be interested in maybe making a game. So I think it's definitely something that we need. I just don't see Konami rescuing this. I don't see Konami after all this time off, right? They'll never have this time off again. They had a full year and a half, if you really look at it, to kind of do whatever they wanted. Something that we could be happy and proud with. And they gave us something that's the most disappointing thing we've ever seen from the company. The idea that now, under more pressure, they're going to flip that around in the next few months just doesn't add up. It would really take a miracle. And I pray to God I could come back here and talk to you guys in the next 7 months and have a completely different spiel about this entire thing and be excited. Oh man, the Master League revelation was crazy. But yeah, it's too obvious at this point. And I think for years we've all been hanging on to hope with PES that, this 2019 we're gonna see. 2019 is definitely better, but maybe not. 2020, it's a little bit worse. 2021, hey, you know what? Not that bad considering it's a season update. But we keep feeling like this thing is gonna happen. It just hasn't. And then the thing that actually happened was basically the rug getting pulled out from under us. And now we're left with whatever this is. So I would love to be more hopeful. I think, these podcasts are good. We're going to, try our best, keep making videos, really hope we can make some kind of dent. But I think this goes back to just how gaming had changed. I was talking to someone on Reddit about this with regards to NBA 2K. and they were just talking about, the continued reliance on online, and the game is so much more gimmicky than it used to be. And it really, really just struck me. Back in the past, offline sold your game, right? You released your game, and if it was great, people bought it. There were no more updates. You had it for a year. So they had to make Master League, career mode, whatever you want to call it, really good, because it had to last you for a year, and you had to be excited enough that you wanted to play it for the whole year. That just does not exist anymore. So they would never focus on it anymore unless, and this is the one thing that I think possibly could work, is you do make a Master League, but it is actually quite expensive, right? So then maybe they are making the profits they want to make, and then they care about it enough that, they're going to focus on it. I think the one kind of hope we could have, I still, like I said, 1% really. The one hope we could have is if they are specializing, different groups are working on different things now, and the DLC for Master League is its own thing. If there is, even if it's 2 developers, but they're focused only on Master League, that we could actually get something where they're not being torn in 5 different directions, trying to, facilitate my club stuff and do this and that. But the chances that they have any team dedicated to Master League is very slim. But I think that's the only hope we could have now, that they want to get this free stuff. Because I want to give, I want to end on a positive note. I want to give some kind of positivity here. Let's say the next 5-6 months, they really focus on getting this cross-platform integration working, right? They get it up and running, things are working smooth. Then they can actually focus on Master League, and it becomes a thing. I think that's really the last hope for this. But again, at this point, we just sound like naive wishers, really. Holding on to something from the past that just maybe doesn't exist at all anymore to them.
If you're charging for Master League DLC, it has to be good. Like, I think Adam Batty said that. Like, you can't charge 10, 20 quid or dollars for Master League DLC and it just be a reskin of 2021. You would think it would have to be a substantial update to the mode to get people to buy it. Otherwise, it'll flop. No one will buy it.
I don't know.
He did say that.
Yeah, he did.
Say that,
he did.
surprising.
Yeah. I don't know how much they're gonna make us charge us for the game mode. That's another issue that I do have because of how good Master League was, how much memories we've had with the mode, how much it still means to a lot of us, whether we make content or not. I don't know if they're going to use what we know as Master League as a way to charge us a premium price with it being bare bones. That's the only thing I do worry about it.
Yeah.
But with what Adam said on his tweet, again, it falls on to a load of the other things that he has said in the past that hasn't come to fruition. But at the same time, you've got to think, if you work for a company and they are paying you, you're not going to, and he's got to sell the game, he's not going to say shit, is he?
No.
He's going to try and hype it up as best as he can to make sure that there is going to be sales. I mean, it's just one of those things now where, as Terry's already mentioned, we are not the focus anymore, which I understand. I get it. I actually accept the route that we're going, but I will not completely accept that the online player base shouldn't be a thing anymore. And that's how it currently feels with how they've dealt with the trailer, the communication, and like the roadmap. I'm certainly, even though Konami are probably not going to listen to anything that I do have to say, I'm not going to be one to shy away of saying what needs to be done to get the game mode better. I obviously do want the best for Master League, but at the same time, I don't want to be paying a premium price for something that is completely bare bones, and that is currently what I do worry about them making it a paid mode. Because essentially, when you look at it, buying a mode that you are in full control over, in terms of you basically pay for what you want to play, and the control is in our hands now. If we want to go online, we can do it for free. If we want to play offline, we've got to pay. Fair enough. But the ball is still in the court of Konami, depending on how well that this big, large update that they said in last year's communication for Master League, that all falls on down to how well it's going to be produced for us, because we have been sold many lies on Master League in the past, and the biggest recent lie to do with Master League was the PES 2020 Master League Remastered trailer. They even called it Master League Remastered. And when that trailer first hit, it looked like the best thing ever. But it just basically was just a cutscene fest. And if we get something that is at least somewhat an improvement on 21, with a lot of community mentions from the past bringing its way into the game, then I will be happy in one way or another. But what they shouldn't be doing, or what I hope that they don't do, is just charge us a price based on our love of the mode and obviously nostalgia.
Yeah, we just have to hope, and we just have to see what happens next month. I'm sure we'll all be trying the game when it comes out.
Of course we are, mate. I'm definitely going to try it. Like, it's a lot of people are ready to quit, PES or eFootball now to go to FIFA. Whereas for me, I play both games every year. Like, I always have an open mind about things. Yeah, I get it. FIFA's not got the greatest of gameplays in majority of their installments. You can have sliders to tone down the experience, but you still do get that FIFA-ism of like gameplay in terms of like the unrealistic physics in some aspects, and the amount of like rugby scores you can get in the game, and it's okay. But like I said, I have an open mind. I play both games. I see the pros and cons in both games, and I'm not essentially quitting one game to go to another. And here's another thing with this free to play model. Let's say me, Terry, and yourself, Cam, we all drive into the sunset. We quit PES or eFootball, and we play FIFA. 12 months down the line, PES is this amazing, great game that everyone's been raving on about. The positive thing about that is we don't actually have to spend now to try it. So if we wanted to come back to a game that wasn't great before, the positive thing about it is we can all come back from our lovely holiday, I don't know, in the Caribbean or whatever, sipping alcohol and whatnot. We can all come back to this game without having to put a penny in, and we can try it for the first time and be like, wow, this game is absolutely amazing. And then it's like, well, let's spend our money for Master League. That's the positive thing that I do see about this free-to-play model going forward. I do want to see what else they can add to it. But with the current roadmap, I'm not excited, but it's the Master League news that I'm currently waiting for.
Yeah, we can only hope. And yeah, we've been talking for over 2 hours now, so we should probably call it a day soon. Before we go, though, I just want to quickly ask both of you, what is your favourite PES memory?
I will let Terry go first, because I think I've gone first on every question.
That is a really good one. There's just one that comes to mind, honestly. It was it's just always been there. I was at my grandmother's house like over the summer in Trinidad, and I can't even remember. It was Master League Real Madrid, and we were down 4-1. That's back when I think the difficulty level was just the stars, I believe. And so I was on the highest difficulty. I remember being down 4-1. It was like 11 p.m. So she's sleeping and I'm playing out in the living room. And I score one. It's 4-2 in like the 83rd. I score another one. It's like 4-3 in the 86th or 87th. And then I scored in the 90th minute. And then in the 93rd minute, I made it 5-4. And I had to stifle my scream. I ran around the house. Like to this day, I have that memory just etched. It's etched in my memory. But I just remember like that, one of those crazy Master League moments where I made this really improbable comeback. Because one of the beautiful things about PES, even historically, was you might get the odd 5-4 game or 6-3 or whatever, but it felt so realistic based on how football really is. You'd have that result, that random result every now and again, and then your next game might be 0-0. So I remember just coming back at the end. I pushed everyone forward. I did a custom formation. I moved the players. I remember it so well. I just remember that euphoria when I scored that goal it was a league match in La Liga. I was getting 3 points in the league, but I just sprinted around like the entire house at like 11 p.m. trying to tiptoe and not make too much noise. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I think the series has always been built on, and it's the history of the series. So I'm gonna try to remain hopeful. Like Cam said, if this really does become some kind of a game that's constantly updated and constantly tweaked, they don't have to worry about the yearly cycle, so it's a bit more freeing. And in a year, it becomes a really good game. That would be incredible. And I think all of us, as long as we've already waited long enough. If we had to wait another year and it actually ends up being that, we'd be really, really happy. But that is my my PES moment that I remember really well.
Those are the moments, the Master League moments. Amazing. Cam, what about yourself?
I think the best memories of PES I've had was obviously back when I was younger. It was, I'd say, between PES 5 and 6, but I think they're both great in their own way. But for me, the reasons why like the PES 5 and 6 era is, the best for me is because the constant couch play that I used to have with my friend who lived in the same street as me. Obviously, there was no Ethernet play back then, or if there was, I didn't have internet. Just constantly him coming over to mine, bringing his controller and his game, and then vice versa. I'd bring my controller over to his. We'd play PES. The editing, I'll never forget when I first found out when I was young that you could go in to the editing software, the editing mode, and you can edit the boots so you can make your own makeshift Nike Vapors. I used to love that and put the red and I think it was the white and red ones straight on Thierry Henry all the time. Like I'd spent so many hours editing, and those memories just last forever because. And the reason why I still play like the PC versions of them today, like PES 6 Original Season, is because those memories that I had from my childhood have increased tenfold because all the teams, balls, stadiums, chants, they're all in there. So like my childhood experience comes full circle once again, but with an experience I never had when I was young because obviously all the licensing issues that we had back in the day and still that we have today. But yeah, PES 5 and 6, not only was it a great game, it's probably one of my favourite footballing eras as well. Zidane, R9 Ronaldo, Cannavaro. You had that fantastic Italy team from 2006. You also had that incredible Brazil team as well from like 2002 to 2006. Such a special era for me in football and in gaming in general. And like Terry said, if you were going to go through like a 6-4 or like a 7-2 game, it didn't feel like it was unrealistic. All the goals that you felt in PES back in the day were all realistic, and it all felt like the fundamentals of football were already there in that game. Because as Terry alluded to at the start of the podcast, as soon as you find out what the go-to tactic is, or the meta as they call it now in the FIFA games, that's the known way that you can score. And as Terry said earlier, if you know that that's the way you can score by like doing a certain move or something, you kind of stop yourself from scoring because you feel like you're cheating. But with PES, everything just felt natural. The fundamentals of football was there. It was just all fun to play. And yes, it was probably the greatest time of my life, gameplay-wise, for PES.
I think for myself, I'm gonna say PES 13 Master League. I used to play it with my uncle. He used to come down on the weekends, and we had a Master League together, a co-op. And one season we got a bit bored, and basically what we did is we created a player. We gave him a fake name, all that, and we put all his stats up to the max. And we made him a free agent And I think at that time, if you made a player as a free agent, it would come in the Master League as a free agent. And we thought, right, we're going to sign this player up and just have fun with him. All his stats, 109 maximum. And we create this player. We get into the Master League. We try to sign him. Doesn't want to sign for us. And he ends up signing for Arsenal. And every single time we played Arsenal, he was running rings around us. We couldn't touch him. He was the greatest player ever. And it was unrealistic, but it was so exciting. You know, every season, the first game we look at was when we're playing Arsenal, and it would be a bit of a rivalry. Like, let's try and get one over Arsenal, because of that one player we created. So that really backfired on us. But it was a lot of fun, and yeah, I miss those moments.
I think that is probably the most unexpected, but rounded and such a positive way to end the podcast. I did not expect that. I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, we signed our own player and we, I don't know, won the UEFA Champions League and he was top scorer." But no, he completely signed up for another team and smashed you every time we played against him.
Every time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
The good thing I'll say, guys, is we still have these games, and it's actually something, Cam, you've definitely reminded me of just on your channel, and even the stuff you posted on EvoWeb. As much as, you know, what's going on now is a bit sad, it is good to remember these games all still exist, and in many different iterations, you can go back and play them. And the funny thing is, obviously, it's not the same as when you were a kid. But the games themselves are, to be honest, I even look back now, I'm even more impressed when I look back at what they were doing back then. So we can still, you know, if anything, maybe this year is a time for a lot of PES fans to delve into the past and play those games that were really well put together and made with us in mind, which is really, I think, the defining characteristic compared to what we're dealing with now.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's call it a day there. We've been going for, I think, 2 hours and a half now, nearly.
I mean, it's a good introduction.
Yeah, it certainly is. Cam and Terry, thank you so much for coming on. I'm a big fan of both of your content and channels, so it's been really nice to talk to you both.
It's been a pleasure.
And yeah, thank you for listening, everyone.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem.
Yeah, nice.
Absolutely fantastical. I guess there'll be more of these going out soon with like different other people, because I am willing to listen to any kind of PES podcast at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if there's any, you don't even have to be a PES creator. Just even if you're a PES fan, or even if you're a FIFA fan, like, come on and talk. I'm happy to talk about football games. So if you're listening and you want to get involved, just direct message me on Twitter at PES Rumors, and just come on and have a chat about PES or FIFA or anything.
Incredible stuff. Well, it's been fun. It's been amazing talking to you for 2 hours and 30 minutes exactly.
Yeah.
This was therapy, guys. I could tell.
Do you know what it was? It was. I think it was a bit of closure for Cam as well. I think he was hiding that PES 13 story in for quite a while about his player.
Yeah, it was nice to lay it out. So thank you guys.
I need to know the name of this guy. I think, Cam, we need to get the Arsenal kit from 2013 and get his name on the back. You need that kit. That has to be a thing that happens.
Okay. I might load up the old save file, see if I still have it. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for listening.
Anytime.
All right, guys, take care.
Yeah,
The secret, guys, is we should have learned Japanese years ago. I always wonder if we as a community had decided post PES 2013 to really invest in learning Japanese together and just created all this content in Japanese, if it would have actually made a difference.